We have a couple of groups here from the First Flight High School Civics class. Greg, I'm not sure which order you have them in.
Okay.
Okay. So the first presentation, as I understand it, is by Audrey Bunn, Charlie Swanner, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Alexis Schmidt, Charles Edwards, and Samuel Beecham. So welcome.
All right, we have a proposal to have KDH Roadkill cleaned up. The streets have been full of it. I'm Charlie Swanner.
I'm Audrey Bunn.
Alexis Schmidt.
Samuel Beecham.
Would you like for me to advance the slides for you?
Yes.
Raise your finger. One of you raise your finger.
Okay. Why this matters is because seeing roadkill in the streets is depressing. It smells. Outer Banks especially is a tourist destination, and it's ugly for tourists to see and locals even. And fresh roadkill are host to many harmful diseases.
Alright, the hazards of roadkill. There are hazardous body fluids in the roadkill that can get in the water table and contaminate our drinking water. And the large carcasses can be dangerous to vehicles such as motorcycles because it can cause them to swerve around and it can be a destructive thing. And cars that run over large roadkill can damage their tires and suspension.
There's many possible diseases that you can get from roadkill. There's salmonella that can be carried by rodents, birds, turtles, and other small animals. Parasites can go from the dead animals to your pets if they go over towards them. And ticks can carry Lyme disease and Rocky Mountain spotted fever and many other diseases that you can get from them.
There are many ways to come in contact. Pets that have gotten away from their homes or even just roaming their yards can go over to dead animals and eat them, or even just sniff them and catch disease or a parasite or pest. And there's always a possibility that joggers or bikers may run over the carcasses or even vehicles or motorcycles.
When cars run over roadkill, blood and body fluids splatter over anything around them on the car and spread even further than just the roadkill itself. And improper sterilization when roadkill is clean can cause contamination just from the area, even if the body isn't there.
Cleanups will take place only if the carcass is large enough to threaten motorcyclists.
Motorists
Sorry.
kill the hills at all.
We should take action by assigning daily partner patrols that can go and pick up roadkill on the streets, and the town sanitation center phone numbers should be posted so that the citizens can report any animals that have been hit, and they should be disposed in landfills or other facilities that will take roadkill.
And with our partner patrols idea, our idea was to have every week or so have 2 people drive around Killable Hills to find roadkill and clean it up, and in the summer maybe every day at a dawn patrol and at night because it's unsightly.
Is this where you were?
Let's go to the next one after that.
Okay.
All right, to correctly dispose of roadkill, you have to pick up the carcasses with full gear like gloves and everything, face masks to prevent any kind of airborne disease. You have to seal the carcasses tightly, probably in some kind of plastic bag or something like that, to prevent the spread of any kind of airborne disease or fluids. And you're supposed to hose down the area by not quite bleach, but just some kind of disinfectant or ammonia onto the contaminated pavement, just to get rid of all the flesh and blood and everything that's still carrying disease.
With the budget, we'd have to pay public works officials to patrol and clean the roads, gas for the vehicles for the morning patrols, and necessary roadkill upkeep. any cost for the disposal of the roadkill, and responders to roadkill report calls.
All right, what's on the streets? These are going to be pictures of the roadkill we found between the short time period of January 6th and January 10th. So here we have a raccoon that was found on the intersection of Kill Hills, and it is very hard to identify it because it's been run over so many times.
This is a bird that was found in the middle of a path by a sidewalk.
Right next to the road where everybody walks.
This is a completely decayed deer found in Ocean Acres next to the road. It's obviously been there for an extremely long amount of time because it's been completely eaten away by other animals. So that's definitely a hazard.
And with the deer, you can tell it was just, somebody tried to remove it, but they just put it on the side of the road. It was just a little bit off of the road. And here's a squirrel, which are seen most commonly as roadkill in Kill Hills, in the middle of a lane where most cars pass by.
And here we have an animal that has been hit so many times that we can't recognize what kind of animal it is, and it is in front of the Compass Rose, and it is pretty messy. It's been there a while.
I think that's all.
Okay.
Thank you for having us.
Sure. Thank you, guys. Does anyone have any questions or comments for the group?
I think that was a great presentation, and I know that can be a problem. We had one on our street, and I didn't notice it until I realized it was there because I smelled it. So that can be a problem, and that might be something we want to look into for sure. If we don't have a budget to do it all the time, maybe use the citizens to alert us and have a hotline. I believe you mentioned something like that, to have somebody call Public Works. And especially in the summertime when they sort of go bad a little quicker and be more offensive to our visitors, maybe we can arrange to have something done during that season through the town. I think it's a very good presentation. Thank you very much.
Great presentation.
Very good.
You got me with the squirrel picture, though.
Yeah.
Question for one of the comments was, it's only typically picked up if it's large enough to be a hazard, or what's
If you don't mind, Dana, do you mind coming up and, because we are fortunate in Cullowville Hills, we have our own animal control branch. But Dana can explain the difference between when we pick it up through our animal control or when it may be a DOT issue. But I will say one thing before, Dana, you get into it, and you're probably going to reiterate this, but we can't pick it up if we don't know it's there. So one of the best takeaways I have from your presentation is the awareness component of making sure that people call if they do see it. Because certainly you had a couple of pictures of things that have probably been there a long, long time, and we may or may not have known that it was there. But Dana, do you mind giving just an overview of what we do in Cullowville Hills?
Well, when our officers are out there and they see it, the animal control's usually called out when they're working, and they'll go out there and pick it up when it's safe. And you got a lot of traffic out there, and it's bumper to bumper, even with blue lights or our animal control trucks. Sometimes it takes a while for you can get a small animal off the road. But the larger animals, like on US 158 and NC 12, are governed by DOT, Department of Transportation. We'll get them off the road like a large deer, and they'll come pick them up for us. That might take a day or two, but we get them off as soon as we can. As the small animals like the birds, they're off on the shoulders. As the mayor said, unless you call us and let us know about it, we can't pick them up. And we're glad to pick them up if we know about it. It's just, we don't like to see them out there, and that squirrel was fresh, apparently. So, did you call us and let us know about it? Oh, okay. So, okay. But we pick them up as soon as we can and everything, and that's what we do. And then we dispose of them properly, as you say. We put them in a container, seal it, and then put it in another container, which is then taken to manually to the landfill and disposed of. As to what the state does with them, I don't know. on that part of it. Is there any other
Great.
questions, or does that answer pretty good for you?
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dana.
And I will say, the students, I think you guys did a great job with your professionalism, with your presentation. Several either slides that you had in your PowerPoint or some of the pictures made even us as adults try, to refrain from giggling or laughing. And you guys did a great job. You held yourselves together professionally, and so thank you very much for that. Well done.
We didn't giggle.
I don't know if you ever giggle, but sorry. Anyway.
Generally, I don't giggle.